All right, we're here in Jakin with Granny. She is not a beekeeper and was not a beekeeper, but she remembers back a time when people kept bees a much simpler way. It was a lot simpler time. She's going to tell us a little bit about what she can remember. So, about what year you reckon this was?
All my life, if I was young.
I mean,
Anytime
what
1940 up.
1940s?
Yeah.
And y'all didn't have beetles and mites and all this other stuff. You just basically put bees in a
We just
box
had
and
bees. I didn't. With all the other stuff might have come with it, but I didn't know about it.
well, most of that stuff just can come here till the 80s.
I was a little older then.
So what do you remember about your daddy putting bees in the box? And
Well, first off, he built a box, I guess about a foot, but he nailed the boards to the boards like they used to.
mm-hmm.
And then somebody called it that they had bees, and he'd take one of us young'uns with him, and we'd stand there and tap that thing like we had good sense.
Calling them in.
Trying to get them in that thing. And after so many went in there, the rest would follow. I reckon maybe after the queen bee went in, I don't know. I wondered about that.
Yeah, I wonder too.
But I never seen her.
So
a long time he ever raised, I never seen her.
Never seen a queen bee, huh?
But he set it up out there in the wood yard. And sometimes they'd come a swarm in there and just set up housekeeping in the hive. But it had a bottom on it, had a little hole in the side of it, not big, but the top would let up and down.
Right.
So you could take it off. So when he got ready to, let's get to the end of it too. But when he get ready to get the honey, he'd just take the top off, and one of us youngins would stand there and poke smoke down in there and take it out, and he'd just go in there and cut it out. And
so you had to cut the comb out to get the honey.
Yes.
And smash it with your hands. Run it through cheesecloth or something?
They put it in a cloth and smashed it.
Uh-huh.
I think it was a pillowcase, to be honest with you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised your mama let him run pillowcases like that.
Well, that's how she bought our clothes. She bought flour sacks with flour in it, and then she saved them up. She got enough to make an outfit, so she had plenty of pillowcases.
Okay. It's not no particular dimensions, just whatever scrap wood he had, and so of course they weren't.
That's how she made her quilts.
They weren't necessarily in frames. They were attached to the lid, the combs.
But
and he didn't have to go out there and go through them very regular.
I don't know how he'd tend to them. I just know he'd go out there and check them out every once in a while, but he didn't take us kids out there to do that.
And he just set up an empty box and let a swarm go in there and move in. And
if they wanted to, yeah.
And if they didn't,
he had just empty boxes sitting out there without. He tried to keep one ready if somebody called him.
Uh-huh.
I know our neighbor had a swarm in her mailbox one time, and I got the honors for that.
You had to go shake them off a mailbox into a box, huh?
Yeah.
What'd you think
of that thing till I like to went crazy?
I've heard of people doing that to get swarms out of trees and whatever, but I mean, I've tried it, and you sit there and bang on that box for 20, 30 minutes, and never the first bee. They must have been deaf. Oh, gracious.
But he had good luck with them until the boys got out there throwing. They got blocks from the planer mill.
Right.
And they got out there and threw blocks at them and knocked over a hive, and Daddy didn't know they'd been upset, so he went out there to set up the hive, and them things eat him up.
So he didn't have no gear like a bee suit like we wear, no veil or nothing like that?
When we robbed those things, as they called it,
yeah,
I done it in shorts.
Really?
Uh-huh.
You wouldn't do them like that down there in Florida?
I was scared of them.
Things eat you up.
Until they showed me they could eat him up.
Uh-huh.
But we done a little everything.
Anything else in particular you remember about it?
The bees.
Yeah.
Not particular. I know Mama done the honey. However she done it, I don't know how she done it. Whether she cooked it or whatever, but she done the honey.
So if y'all didn't wait for it to be capped or anything like that, y'all just warm it up and get the moisture out of it.
We had to go back to work.
Right.
We left
that part to Mama, huh?
And we had to go back to work loading trucks with wood. You know, Daddy did run a wood yard.
Right. So he had a little extra wood on hand almost all the time. He'd go out there and build his own boxes.
place big as that whole field out there with slabs in it.
Wow.
Daddy got the slabs from High Tires Mill.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we were down there 2 o'clock at night, loading those slabs up, getting them away from that mill so they'd have it cleared next morning. But that was the idea, you know, when he started getting them.
Right.
Was everything had to be cleaned up before in the morning, and then we still went to school.
And just
Yeah,
had a little
learned
extra
too much
wood
when we
on
went to
hand, and he'd
school.
get out there in the spare time, huh, and build boxes.
The spare time was school.
I got you. I got you.
But,
So you talking about 1940 some odd?
nah, he
Right
was
on up
about
through.
60 by that time. I was 12 years old. I worked harder then than I have worked my life. I've never had a job since then that I've worked as hard. I made the slats that went around them peanut poles.
Good gracious.
You do remember the peanut poles, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay, but they put them down there like this.
Uh-huh.
I made the slats. Everybody else Daddy hired to put on that saw. He called it a rip saw. But everybody else they hired to go on it, they always cut their hand. I never once got cut.
Because you got skills.
Huh?
Got skills.
I just knew how to do it.
Uh-huh. Skill.
And anyway, if we'd have cut ourselves, Daddy probably killed us.
Yeah, because you ain't laying out of work, are you?
No, that was a hospital bill.
Well, I guess we can wind it up there.
I reckon we can.
All right. See y'all later.